If you're looking to start a franchise on Madden 23 but can't decide on a team, hopefully this video helps you out as I break down 7 of my favorite teams to start a franchise with in this game. And it's not just going to be the 7 worst teams in the game or the 7 teams without a franchise quarterback. There are some teams that you'll have seen talked about before, but I think I'll have some suggestions here that will make you think a little bit differently about some other teams. There are a lot of really good options for picking teams in this game. There are many that have 2 first-round picks next year, many teams that are in rebuild mode, and then you just have the AFC that is such a gauntlet of great teams that even the more middle-of-the-road teams can be a challenging choice. And the number 1 team I will save for last in this video, I believe is the most overlooked team for a challenging franchise rebuild. We'll start with the team that is your more traditional rebuild team, the Chicago Bears. I think this might be the worst roster in the NFL. This offense needs a lot of work. There are no players above a star development. They didn't bring in a star receiver to help out Justin Fields in his second year of development. Fields is the most intriguing part of this offense because he's a quarterback you could easily develop. His accuracies are in a really nice spot. You know he's going to be mobile. Fields is a perfect player to just have fun with while you build out essentially an entire offense. There are a couple good players here. I mean, you have David Montgomery at running back. He is solid, not a big play threat, but just a good 3-down running back. At receiver, there is Darnell Mooney, and he's a good option, but he's the best option the Bears have, and you need a lot more than just him. There's Cole Kmet at tight end. I think that he can be at least an average tight end in the NFL. He's not going to probably be the most dynamic, but he's a good player. But otherwise, you're really trying to build up what is one of the weaker offensive lines and weaker skill groups in the NFL. If you like drafting receivers and running backs, this is a really attractive team. And on the defensive side, there is more talent, but this is still not a very good defense. Robert Quinn's coming off a big season. He's actually one of your better trade options at 32 years old. There is some value with him, so that could help you get some more picks for the future. In real life, we saw Roquan Smith demand a trade, but now it sounds like he's going to play. You can decide what to do here. I think Roquan might be the highest rated player in the game that's only a star dev. You don't often see 89 overall star development. He's really good though. And you don't have a lot of players making big money, so signing him to a big deal wouldn't be difficult at all. But if you just want to build up an entire team top to bottom, this is the team to do it. And you can decide if you want to develop Fields. I think that you easily could in this game. But when you look at the teams that are expected to have a chance to maybe pick number 1 in the draft next year, this is the one that I think will keep you the busiest trying to rebuild. The Bears are my favorite total rebuild team in the NFC, but in the AFC, let's talk about the Houston Texans a little bit. This team has one of the most unique roster builds in the NFL because so much of it is veteran players on their second or third team. It's not just a bunch of rookies or second-year guys playing. It's kind of a team of players trying to prove they can still play. Now, I think this team gives you more to work with right off the bat than the Bears, but you don't have a quarterback like Justin Fields with the stronger arm and a little bit better accuracies than Davis Mills, and of course, Fields has the great speed. Davis Mills can be developed into a good quarterback, but can you turn him into a great one? And if you have a chance to take a top 5 option, are you passing on a quarterback to stick with Mills? One of the reasons why the Texans made this video is because I think they did a really good job with their most recent draft class. And if you like taking rookies and developing them, this is the team for that. Dameon Pierce is making a lot of noise in preseason to perhaps become the next 3-down running back of the Houston Texans, and I am expecting him to carry the load, basically, this year. The offensive line isn't good, but it's in a little better shape than the Bears, I would say, and you get a hidden dev rookie right away in Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M, who was their first-round pick. One of them, anyway. Their first pick of the draft was Derek Stingley Jr. As a Viking fan, I was really hoping he would fall to Minnesota, but that was not going to happen, as Stingley gives you a speedy press man option here in a Madden, where I think press man-to-man defense is more usable than it's been in over a decade. So I love the skill set Stingley brings into this game, and I just think he's a good fit for the gameplay in Madden 23. They also took another guy I really liked in the draft in Jalen Petrie, a versatile safety who should be able to also play a little bit of slot if you want him to. Only 67 zone, 70 man. I thought his coverage ratings would be a little bit better, but still a good safety who I think will develop into one of the more versatile, complete safeties you could have. The coverages are a little low. Those can be worked on, while the tackling and hit power, I think, are in a good spot to begin. Brandon Cooks is a really good option to have in your passing game, but I also think that there's something here with Nico Collins, and I'm a little surprised he doesn't have star development. Even without it, these ratings here give you a chance to develop Collins in any way you want. He could become a great slot receiver with the route running that you're looking for, or develop him into a physical deep threat. Just work on the release and the deep route running. Collins is a receiver with a really good starting point in this game. This is an extremely old roster for a team in rebuild mode, but a lot of these players would have trade value. And the Texans took advantage of that last year with veterans they ended up trading away to build up draft capital. And when you look ahead to the next draft, they have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks ready to go. So the Texans are definitely one of the best teams to pick this year. So those are 2 of the weaker teams in the game. Let's switch it up a little bit with this next team, all right? This is a team I considered, did not select, but I think is a great option still. The Pittsburgh Steelers. You probably haven't considered the Steelers very often for a franchise team, as they're usually a team in the playoffs or not far out of it. Well, this year in real life, their Vegas win total is only 7.5, which is the same as the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders, and puts them in the bottom 12. With some of these rebuild teams, you can just kind of go at your own pace, draft a quarterback, get a playmaker here, and try to build your team up. And it's just kind of a more laid-back experience that way. You're expected to be bad, and you'll just draft the players you think will help your rebuild. Here's why the teams that are more mid-tier intrigue me right now. I've done a lot of rebuilds that are more building a team from the ground up. But how about taking a team that clearly needs some work, but also having a sense of urgency, because this is a very talented but veteran-led defense. The challenge here with Pittsburgh is trying to build the team into a contender while the defense is still in good shape. And I think you have a window to do that. You have TJ Watt, and he's 27 years old. But the thing is, with this defense, how many of these starters are on rookie contracts? Most of these players have already earned a second deal, which means that they're in their prime and probably more so in the second half of their prime. How long do you think Cam Hayward sticks around in your franchise while you try to build up the offense? He's great right now, and he might be great for a year or two. Can you get the Steelers to that point where they can win a Super Bowl before the defense regresses, players retire, maybe contracts get out of hand? And what I like about this offense is you have some playmakers to work with, and none of them are elite. Deontay Johnson, good slot receiver. I don't think that's as valuable in Madden as a dominant outside threat, But you can develop Chase Claypool perhaps into that player, maybe George Pickens, although 74 overall normal dev isn't the best starting point. I imagine in the next roster update, when they make some changes, guys like George Pickens, Dameon Pierce, Isaiah Likely, some of these preseason standouts might have better ratings and maybe adjust the developments. But, of course, the elephant in the room here with Pittsburgh, what are you doing at quarterback? You want to win a title before the defense regresses. Can you do it with Kenny Pickett? Can you do it with Mitchell Trubisky? I imagine here you'd pick Kenny Pickett to try and start things off with. And you know you're probably not going to get elite caliber play from him, but can he just distribute the ball? Can you have an above average offense with an elite defense and try to get to a Super Bowl? That template has been done many times, but also consider the teams you're up against here in the AFC. The mid-tier teams in the AFC, to me, are more interesting because even if you have a team that's pretty good and maybe wins a wild card spot or something, when you have the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, Chargers, I mean, it's just not an easy road to the Super Bowl. On top of the quarterback situation here for the Steelers, this still is not a good offensive line. Najee Harris struggled to get to 4 yards a carry last season. I think he's a really talented running back. But it is a challenge with this team, given the quarterback situation, given the O-line, and your playmakers aren't elite. Going back to the defense, I've talked about this being a good defensive team. They are. But this secondary is just Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then it's average around him. If you want to compete in the offensive-heavy AFC with these quarterbacks and receivers, you probably need to fix the offense and get a number one corner. This next team I've already talked about on the channel because it's my franchise team, and I just think the Titans are a great pick for this year. If you want to hear me go into more depth with this team, I have a video on the channel already, my franchise team reveal. But the long short of it here with Tennessee is that while they were the number one seed in real life last year, they are expected to take a step back, and I just don't think this is a good Madden team. Derrick Henry is, of course, the star of this offense and the star of the entire team. Without Derrick Henry, it's just a very different Tennessee Titans team. There's a lot of work to do in the passing game, and you have Treylon Burks, first rounder. Now, his ratings, I don't think, give you anything close to a sure thing of him panning out in your franchise. I think it would be challenging. He's not the most dynamic athlete, he's not the best catch-and-run threat, and he needs a lot of work. The possibility of developing Malik Willis in this game is very intriguing, because his speed acceleration combo is special. He has the strong arm. You just have to work on the accuracy and build up the offense around him. Defensively with Tennessee, there is Jeffrey Simmons and Kevin Byard, two high-level starters, but there's still a lot more you could do with this team. You got to build up a passing game, of course, but this is by no means a complete defense. This team is also paying both Bud Dupree and Ryan Tannehill a lot of money, so unless you make some moves, you're not going to be able to fix these needs through free agency. You really have to get to the draft. The other thing, too, is there just doesn't seem to be that many players with a higher development to develop. This team is full of normal development starters, and that's just going to cap their ceilings. A lot of the teams you think about for your franchise have entered a rebuild. The Titans in Madden 23, to me, give you a team who might not be in the same rebuild mode right now, but they might be a year or two from now. And again, this is one of those teams in the AFC, so you know the schedule is going to be very difficult. From here, we're going back to the NFC, and we have the Detroit Lions. This is a team that always feels like it's been rebuilding. But in this instance, I do feel like they're taking a lot of the right steps and they're on their way. So you have teams like the Bears, teams like the Texans, who are really in the early stages of a rebuild. The Lions, to me, are more in that second stage where they're trying to get to that point where they're no longer rebuilding, and it might take one more year to get there. The Lions are a good team if you want to do some rebuilding, but don't want a roster like Chicago's or Houston's. First of all, this is the best offensive line that I have talked about today and might talk about in this video. So here's a team rebuilding where you can just kind of glide by with the offensive line they already have, which is always a plus. Makes your running game a lot easier to work with. You got DeAndre Swift here. And of course, a better offensive line in this game is going to be important because the pass rush is showing up quickly. And the Lions have some good pass game targets as well. So Jared Goff is the quarterback. Probably not your long-term option here with these ratings. He does have elite short accuracy, but not a whole lot else to work with. That makes him a great fit for Amon-Ra St. Brown, the checkdowns to DeAndre Swift, and then TJ Hawkinson. But I think you want a different quarterback if you are to truly unlock the player with the highest ceiling on this roster. It's Jameson Williams, first round pick of the Detroit Lions after they fleeced my Minnesota Vikings with this pick and the trade to get him. 98 speed, 80 deep route running, but Goff is not the guy to unlock Jameson Williams. We talk about a lot of good players to develop in these videos. This is a player who can be elite. Defensively, it's still very much a work in progress. They did get Aiden Hutchinson, of course, in the first round this year, one of the 2 first-round picks that they made. Hutchinson has such a complete skill set, and he's a really good run defender right out of the gate here. That's actually better than his pass rushing rating-wise, but his pass rushing should also be good. So Hutchinson can make a play for you no matter what the offense does. I do think with this team, your focus is really on rebuilding a defense and then trying to find the right quarterback. The Lions have some pieces in place more than other teams that are also rebuilding. So if you want a team that's further along in their rebuild, this is easily the team to take. And if you wait for that first roster update, maybe you'll get a boost here for the Hard Knocks superstar Malcolm Rodriguez, rookie linebacker. And you also can't forget, they have 2 more first-round picks in this upcoming draft. Keep in mind that second pick, though, is from the LA Rams. I didn't want to talk about every team only expected to win 3 to 5 games this year, just because I'm sure you've heard a lot about all those teams, so I tried to pick my favorites of those bottom-tier teams. But the next one I want to talk about is the Atlanta Falcons. And I picked them over Seattle, even though Seattle's quarterback situation is very unique, to say the least. Because both teams have playmakers on offense, Seattle's are just developed already. Whereas with the Falcons, there's rookie Drake London, the veteran, receiver, running back, best kick returner in NFL history, Cordero Patterson, and a player you will probably never have a chance to draft. You're just not going to come across Kyle Pitts or a player like Kyle Pitts really any other way. Pitts is a playmaker you can be extremely creative with in how you use, and he's only in his 2nd year. He's this good now, but he can still get better. I think you develop Drake London into a big slot receiver. His ratings are perfect for that. And then you can have some fun with Cordero Patterson while you wait to develop or draft the next Falcons running back. Patterson is another player you can be very creative with. You could line him up at receiver. On top of that, they also acquired Bryan Edwards, who is now with his 2nd team, but is still young enough with star dev, and you can still turn him into a solid outside receiver. This is also a second chance for Marcus Mariota, and I've been looking forward to seeing his second chance after a couple of years with the Raiders. His accuracies really aren't in a very nice spot, though. At least Jared Goff had the elite short accuracy. Mariota only has 84, but he does have the mobility. So you can be very creative with this team, just more creative than you could with, say, the Jets or the Seahawks. And that's why they didn't make the cut here. This is a team with a lot of work to do that I think you can have some fun with the offense right away. The offensive line is getting better, but still has some work to do. And then defensively, they're still trying to find edge rushers here, and they hope that rookie Arnold Ebiketie can be that edge rusher they've been waiting for, really since Vic Beasley's rookie season. Plus, it's always nice to have a legit number one corner. And they have that in A.J. Terrell, who is only 23 years old. So get ready to pay him. He'll get paid very big money. You also have one of the better coverage linebackers in the NFL, Deion Jones. Everybody's trying to draft a linebacker that's like Deion Jones. Now, I will say his run-stopping ratings here are a little inconsistent, low block shed, 79 tackle. But if you're, say, usering on defense, I mean, Deion Jones is the exact kind of player you want to play with, I think. There's still a lot of work to do defensively, a fair amount of work to do offensively as well, but I just think it's an interesting starting point here with Atlanta. And then, what do you do with Desmond Ridder? Because he's got a chance if you play him. He's got 88 speed, 91 acceleration as well. So you really have to consider playing Desmond Ridder early, trying to develop him, and that might have a lot of long-term success. It didn't show him there on the roster because he is injured for the season. Hope that PCL heals good here for Calvin Ridley, but when he comes back, he's a number one caliber receiver. But in your franchise, he will also be a free agent. That leaves me with just one more team to talk about today. A team that I think will be overlooked by many, but also offers one of the best challenges in this game. And that is the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are not a bad team. If you want a bad team, you gotta go somewhere else. But is this a Super Bowl team, is the question. The Saints are trying their hardest to keep a window open, even though that window might not actually be open. But there are definitely a lot of things to like about this team right away. First off, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, two great playmakers. The offensive line is also solid. You have Ryan Ramczyk, one of the best right tackles in the NFL. They lost Teron Armstead, but have already gotten his replacement in Trevor Penning. Plus, you have Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz. This is a good offensive line. And then they took Chris Olave in the first round this year. So the offense is really not looking too bad as long as you get good play out of Jameis Winston. I think you can get by with Winston's ratings, but for how long? You want to be looking for that next quarterback at some point. You go to the defense, and the defense isn't bad either. They added two safeties in the offseason, Marcus May and Tyrann Mathieu. Demario Davis, the veteran, is a great linebacker who can really do it all. And you have Marshawn Lattimore, Bradley Roby, and Paulson Adebo had some good moments as a rookie as well. So why the Saints? Why is this a team you should pick for your franchise? Because I think even with where they are right now, it's a challenge to get them to the Super Bowl. NFC is easier than the AFC, but to me, this is the NFC equivalent of taking the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you have some good things there, questions about the quarterback position, but what makes the Saints much more of a challenge is first the fact that you will not have a first-round pick in the 2023 draft. So if you want to find a quarterback to replace Jameis Winston, that gets so much more difficult. And on top of that, they have no cap space next season. After year one, here are the players you would be needing to re-sign. And this is a team that's going to have under $1 million before they start making moves next offseason. Now, these aren't all star players or anything, but I mean, starting caliber safety in CJ Gardner-Johnson, one of their best pass rushers in Marcus Davenport, Jarvis Landry. Like the Steelers, there is a sense of urgency with this team because there are a lot of veterans, and a lot of your best players will be regressing after year one. But you have to tackle that situation with no first-round pick and no cap space right away, and perhaps no long-term option at quarterback on the roster. When the goal is winning a Super Bowl, it's not enough to be halfway there or a little more than halfway there. There's more to do with this team. The way I look at it, your best chance to win a Super Bowl with this core is in year one. There isn't really a case that year two would be better. Some of these players are free agents next year. Some are in their 30s or approaching and will be regressing. You have no cap space, no first round pick. So trying to get this team to a Super Bowl before a rebuild maybe becomes a little more serious, I think is a unique place to start a franchise. And when you're playing as the Saints, you still got Tom Brady and the Buccaneers to deal with alongside you in that division. So there you go, 7 teams that I think would be great to play with this year in franchise mode. There are easily 7 more I could probably go through, but these are my favorites. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel as I will be starting my Titans franchise hopefully soon. Kinda want to wait for the first update given some of the weird server issues I've seen with Madden 23 franchise. But I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a lot of fun to put together. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you next time.